There's a specific kind of quiet pain that shows up late at night, when the noise of the day finally dies down. You're lying in bed or staring at a screen, and it hits you. The world doesn't really reward intelligence. Not the kind you have, anyway. It rewards something else, something louder, lighter, easier to digest. You see it when you scroll. People saying nothing in 100 different ways, getting applause for it. Jokes with no substance, confidence without reflection, outrage without understanding. Then you remember that moment in a meeting, or a classroom, or a family dinner, when the person who spoke the fastest was praised, while the person who thought the deepest stayed silent, or was quietly ignored. And somewhere inside you, a sentence whispers, "Am I the only one who sees this?" You start to notice a pattern. When you simplify yourself, people relax around you. When you hide how much you think, you're accepted. When you ask the real questions, the room tightens. You feel, in small ways, punished for being awake, and rewarded when you play along, when you play dumb. It's a strange loneliness, to feel that your clarity is a social liability. Long before social media, long before corporate buzzwords and endless notifications, there was a man who watched his own society with this same uneasy awareness. His name was Friedrich Nietzsche, and he noticed that most people weren't really searching for truth. They were searching for comfort, for stability, for a story that made life feel simple, even if it was false. He saw that societies quietly agree on certain values. Don't question too much. Don't stand too far outside the circle. Don't make people uncomfortable with inconvenient truths. The ones who obey these unwritten rules get safety, approval, and a place in the group. The ones who don't often get labeled as difficult, negative, or strange. In a moment, we'll look at why the system almost needs to reward a certain kind of stupidity, why it prefers what is easy and familiar over what is true and demanding. And later, we'll talk about what Nietzsche thought you could do once you notice all of this, and how you might stay sane, even grow stronger after seeing through the game. Because once you really see it, you can't unsee it. And that realization is where your trouble begins. But it's also where your real life might start. You start to wonder what someone like Nietzsche would whisper to you across time if he were sitting beside you here tonight. Would he tell you to turn away, to numb yourself again, or to follow this uncomfortable clarity wherever it wants to lead you? When most people hear the word stupidity, they think of low test scores or someone who doesn't get it. That's not what we're talking about here. The stupidity that gets rewarded today is not a lack of brain power. It is a habit of living on the surface, of letting other people do the thinking for you. It is automatic, unexamined life. You can see the difference in two kinds of people. One sits, noticing patterns, asking questions in their head, feeling the strange weight of things that don't quite make sense. The other learns to repeat the approved lines, to echo whatever the group already believes. The second person is praised as confident, practical, a good fit. The first is often told they're overcomplicating things. This training starts early. Picture a child who keeps asking why. Why are things done this way? Why is that rule there? At first, adults find it cute. Then, slowly, the tone changes. Teachers sigh. Parents say, because that's just how it is. The child learns that some questions make people uncomfortable, and uncomfortable people become critical people. In school, you discover that the game is simple. Remember, repeat. Don't disturb. The students who memorize and reproduce exactly what they were given are called excellent. The ones who wander outside the script, who want to connect ideas, who sense that something deeper is going on, are told to stay on topic. You learned, maybe without noticing, that it was safer to play dumb than to see too much. Then you grow up and walk into an office, and the pattern continues with lighting and worse coffee. The people who agree with everything in the meeting rise quickly. They nod at every new slogan, every new initiative, even when it contradicts last quarter's grand vision. They're praised as team players. The ones who notice flaws, who raise quiet objections, who see the gap between the company's words and its actions, are labeled negative, difficult, not aligned with the culture. The herd protects its comfort, not the person who points to the cliff ahead. Outside of work, you open your phone and meet another layer of this training. Influencers exaggerate, oversimplify, and stir outrage because that's what the system rewards. Algorithms do not care if something is true, only if it keeps you watching. Performative stupidity, acting clueless, pretending not to care, turning everything into a joke, gets engagement. Calm, nuanced thought rarely goes viral. Nietzsche saw a figure coming, a kind of comfortable, tired human who longs for distraction more than challenge, who would rather be entertained than genuinely transformed. You can see versions of that everywhere, smiling from loops of content that ask nothing of you except your time. Why does the system reward this? Because people who think deeply are harder to sell to, harder to frighten, harder to steer in predictable lines. A society that wants stability will always prefer the manageable over the profound, the obedient over the original. So if the game is built this way, tilted toward shallow comfort and away from uncomfortable clarity, what happens to the people who can't unsee the tilt? What does it do to your mind, your relationships, your sense of self, when you're awake in a world that keeps asking you to go back to sleep? There's a strange kind of loneliness that appears even when you're surrounded by people. You sit at a table, you hear the laughter, you see the phones passed around, but it feels like you're watching from behind glass. Your friends are arguing about a show, a meme, a small piece of gossip, and you're half there, half somewhere else, noticing how shallow the water is that everyone seems content to swim in. You start to realize that your role in many rooms is the quiet observer. You notice the details no one comments on, the contradictions no one mentions. You see how people say one thing and live another. And instead of feeling wise, you feel strangely out of sync, like you came to the right planet but the wrong era. When you finally speak up, the response is rarely what you hoped for. You point out that something feels off at work, or that a joke is cruel, or that a pattern in your family is unhealthy. People shift in their seats. Some laugh it off. Someone tells you you're being dramatic, too sensitive, always overthinking. Slowly, the world teaches you a dangerous lesson. Not only is the game rigged, but noticing that it's rigged makes you the problem. This is a quiet form of gaslighting. The more accurately you see, the more you're told your vision is wrong. Nietzsche understood this tension. He imagined the person who climbs higher than the rest, up the mountain path, while the crowd stays in the valley. From up there, you see more. You see the fog covering the village, the smallness of the worries that used to consume you. There is a kind of freedom in that view. But there is also a chill. The air is thinner. It is harder to breathe. You look around and realize there are very few people at this height. Seeing clearly comes with a cost. Exhaustion. Once you name the patterns, you can't unsee them. You notice the rewarded stupidity at work, the empty outrage online, the scripted talking points in politics, the little lies everyone tells to keep things comfortable. It wears you down. You feel like a person whose skin is too thin for the world they live in. And then, quietly, another feeling creeps in. resentment. You watch people who seem perfectly happy in the shallow end of the pool, splashing, laughing, never wondering how deep the water goes. Part of you envies them. Another part secretly despises them for having what looks like an easier life. This is where the real danger begins. When you feel alienated for too long, it's tempting to let your clarity curdle into contempt. To decide that nothing matters, that everyone is an idiot, that effort is pointless. Nietzsche warned about this temptation. He called it staring into the abyss. If you stay there too long, the darkness stops being something you observe and starts to live inside you. But he didn't believe that seeing through the herd was the end of the story. For him, this painful clarity was only a beginning, a rough doorway into another way of living. In the next step, you don't just see the crowd from above. You start to understand the hidden rules that keep it moving together. The more clearly you see the game, the more you start to notice something else. It isn't just random. The herd runs on hidden rules, quiet agreements almost no one says out loud, but everyone feels. And once you start noticing them, so many past moments suddenly make sense. The first rule is simple. Choose comfort over truth. Imagine a family dinner where everyone knows two people hate each other, but the story is that everything is fine. You feel the tension like static in the air. You think, should we talk about what's real? But you also feel the pressure to keep smiling. Most people choose the smile, not because they're stupid, but because safety feels more important than honesty. Nietzsche understood this. For most of humanity, survival and comfort will always outrun the search for meaning. The second rule, agreement over accuracy. In so many meetings and group chats, the unspoken goal is not to understand the situation, but to reach a feeling of harmony. As long as everyone nods, the content doesn't matter much. You've probably watched a room drift toward a conclusion you know is flawed. And when you raise your hand to question it, something changes. People go quiet. Eyes look away. Afterwards, someone might say, "You're making this more complicated than it needs to be." You didn't break the logic. You broke the spell. Then there is the third rule. Punish the outlier. The herd has a sharp instinct for anyone who steps too far outside the circle. Maybe you changed your lifestyle, stopped drinking, quit a stable job, questioned a shared belief, refused a fake social ritual. Suddenly, you became a story people tell when you're not in the room. Jokes, eye rolls, warnings. Don't be like that. It isn't really about you as a person. It's about what you represent, a reminder that other lives, other choices are possible. And that reminder makes the settled life of the herd feel small. If you felt out of place most of your life, these rules might explain why. You leave gatherings feeling more tired than nourished. You try to just play along, but something tightens in your chest when you pretend not to notice what you clearly see. You are not broken for reacting this way. You are simply oriented towards something the herd doesn't prize: depth over comfort, truth over easy togetherness. Nietzsche looked at people like that and didn't just see misfits. He saw early signals of something else entirely, the kind of person who could create new values instead of only inheriting old ones. Your alienation is not the whole story. It is a clue. It suggests you were never meant to only consume what others hand you, but to build, question, deepen, maybe even quietly transform. You begin to sense that your discomfort is not a phase to fix, but a direction, a compass quietly pointing you away from imitation. Of course, seeing this doesn't magically solve the tension. If you can't unsee the stupidity, and you can't fully belong to the herd, what do you do with that space in between? Nietzsche believed that space could become a source of inner power if you learned how to turn resentment into a different, quieter way of living. And that is where we go next. There is a moment when you realize that staring at the herd, judging it, replaying its stupidity in your head, is just another way of being controlled by it. Your mind becomes a reaction, not a creation. Nietzsche's first quiet invitation is simple. Turn away, just a little. You don't have to fix the stupidity of the world. You only have to decide what kind of person you'll be inside it. That is where your real work begins. For Nietzsche, the will to power was never just about overpowering others. It was about mastering yourself so deeply that you could live by your own standards, even when the crowd pulls the other way. In modern terms, this looks less like domination and more like discipline. It's the power to decide what gets your attention, the power to pause before reacting, the power to give your best hours to what matters, instead of feeding them to endless distractions. Slowly, you begin to build a private code. You stop waiting for the herd to validate you and start paying attention to what you quietly respect in yourself. Maybe your code sounds like this: depth over speed, truth over comfort, creation over passive consumption. You may still move through the same world, but you're no longer playing the same game. Your victories become invisible to most people, but very real to you. In this way, your life starts to feel less like a complaint about others and more like a long, demanding conversation with your own potential. This inner shift will eventually ask for outer changes. You notice how outrage media makes your mind feel scattered and sour, and you begin to step back from it. Not dramatically, not with a speech, just less time scrolling, less time chasing the next manufactured crisis. You give that reclaimed attention to solitude, to reading, to making things with your hands or your mind. You choose fewer relationships, but sink into them more deeply. You start treating your mind like a garden, not a trash bin, and you become careful about what you plant there. At some point, you realize that the herd is still doing what it has always done. The shallow rewards are still being handed out. The loud are still praised. But your relationship to it has changed. You no longer feel the same burning need to correct, to expose, to win. You can watch without collapsing into bitterness. They play their game, you play yours, and your game is longer, quieter, and strangely more demanding. This is Nietzsche's way out of resentment. Not escape from the world, but a different posture within it. A life where clarity no longer poisons you, but steadies you. It has to become a rhythm, not just a moment of insight. Still, there's one more question left hanging in the air. How do you sustain this way of living over the long run without drifting back into numbness or rage? That final piece is what will unfold next. There is a version of you, not so far from now, who walks through the same world with a different kind of calm. You still see the stupidity. You still notice the empty noise, the shallow rewards, the people performing a life instead of living it. But it no longer grabs you by the throat. It feels like walking through a crowded marketplace. You hear the shouting, see the lights, smell the distractions, yet you pass through without needing to stop at every stall. You don't waste as much energy being shocked. Of course, the herd chases comfort. Of course, the system rewards what is easy to manage. Instead of asking, how can they live like this? You ask, how do I want to live, knowing this is the landscape? That quiet shift in question changes everything. Slowly, you grow into what Nietzsche might call a secret aristocrat of the mind. No crown, no title, no audience, just an inner standard you keep returning to, even when no one is watching. You start to care less about likes, applause, and hollow recognition, and more about whether you are honest with yourself when you are alone. You measure your days by depth, by small acts of creation, by the moments you chose truth over comfort, even when nobody else noticed. Along the way, you discover that you are not entirely alone. Here and there, scattered like distant lights, you encounter people who also seem slightly out of step with the world. They appear in late-night conversations that suddenly turn real, in certain books that feel like they were written directly to you, in channels and spaces where the tone is quieter, slower, sincere. Sometimes they are found in shared silence, when no one feels the need to perform. The curse remains. You cannot unsee how society rewards stupidity. But the gift grows beside it. You are awake enough to choose a different way of moving through it. That awareness becomes less of a heavy secret and more of a gentle responsibility, to live as proof that another kind of human is still possible. For now, let these thoughts settle. Take them with you into sleep or back into your routines as an adjustment in how you stand in the world. And if you ever want to go further into Nietzsche's deeper rooms, we can always return to this conversation on another night.